Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome. My name is Ita Duran, and I'm Executive Director of Global Strategy at the MCPHS University, also known as the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. If you're watching this, it means that you are interested in a career in health or in a career in technology. Also, as we will show you, you may be interested in the opportunities that exist in merging both health and technology sectors in order to make a difference in the future of health, in order to grow your job prospects, and more importantly, to give you personal satisfaction. Maybe you're fascinated about the health sector, but you are not sure you want to work with patients. Maybe you have realized that the health industry in broad terms has changed and technology has become a major part of the reality of healthcare today. It is an unavoidable part of healthcare future, health science, health tech, and this renders this fast-changing industry one of the most exciting in the world. The Massachusetts College of Pharmacy, or MCPHS for short, was founded 200 years ago, and it has grown to become one of the world's most comprehensive health science universities in the world, offering over 100 academic programs in various professions of health, healthcare practice, research, disease prevention, business, as well as technology, administration, and the life and biomedical sciences. This university is the premier locus of expertise in the education of health professionals, which is why, rooted in this expertise, we have created this webinar series to assist students who are contemplating a program in one of these areas. We realize that you are in the process of deciding which university is the best fit for you. And today, we hope to help you understand what career may be right for you and what characteristics you should be looking out for in a health science program in order to be successful in that career. When you are starting out, healthcare can be overwhelming. The various choices within health sciences can be difficult to understand, and it is not easy to know what to look for or which questions to ask. So that is why we've created this webinar for you to help you ask the right questions for your future academic program. To help me do that, to help us do that, I am joined by my colleague, Paul Noter. Hi, Paul. It seems we have over 300 students and guidance counselors and partners listening to us today. I believe you have some housekeeping items to start us off with.
Thank you so much, Ita. We're very excited for all of you to be joining us. This is a wonderful topic, very dear to my heart. To begin, we have a few housekeeping items. Number one, please keep your microphone muted throughout the webinar unless you are a panelist. Number two, please type your questions in the Q&A section of your screen, and we will address those questions. We will address those questions as we go. And lastly, after the webinar, you will receive a recording of the webinar, as well as a survey to tell us what you think about the webinar. Please take time to answer the survey because your feedback is very valuable to us. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. We are honored today to welcome 3 expert panelists, each one with expertise in their field. And I would like to start with Dr. Timur Yusufzai. Dr. Yusufzai, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
You started out in biology and biochemistry. Those were your studies, your foundational studies, and then you worked as a scholar, as an entrepreneur in biopharma, biomedical research, therapeutics, and very impressive, you also started more than one business ventures in biotechnology. We have noticed that biotechnology has become a buzzword, but the comprehension of what the term means and all the fields that it encompasses can be confusing. Can you help us understand what biotechnology is and how is it different from other terms such as biopharmaceutics, also sometimes called biopharma, biomedicine, biomedical engineering? Help us manage all that.
Yeah, happy to. And I'm happy to be here. The way I think about biotechnology is more of an industry, and it's a very large industry. It's the biggest industry in the Boston, Cambridge area. And in this area, we are the global hub of biotechnology research. And within that kind of industry, and that industry includes pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies, venture firms that are investing in these companies. So within that industry, the companies are developing what they're trying to make are new therapies, and these therapies tend to be medicines, medical devices, diagnostics. And so the term biopharmaceutics, biomedicines, those are kind of the focus areas of the companies within this biotechnology industry. And the industry it's evolving. It changes as new technology comes in, and it's such a fast-growing industry with real-world impact. What these companies create are helping patients with medical needs, and it's such a kind of big and important industry that has so many different roles within it. And those roles can be from scientist roles to engineering type of roles to kind of business type of roles. But entry points into this industry are typically around some of the programs that the two other panelists, Dr. Spooner and Dr. DeMasi, can talk about. They're really around kind of biology, biotechnology as one big entry point, and then data science is another fast-growing entry point into this big industry that we call biotechnology.
Dr. Spooner, welcome. Thank you for being with us today. I should say maybe Dean Spooner, Dean of our School of Healthcare Business.
Thank
Dr.
you, Ida.
Yusufzai mentions, hello. Dr. Yusufzai mentions that technology in health is not only biological, and a large part of the advances that we are seeing in health practice comes from data management, analytics. Can you explain what these terms mean and how do they compare with what is traditionally called computer science?
Thank you. And, what a great question. And, I've got some great information to share. And I think hearing what Dr. Yusufzai just said and hearing about, what we're doing with biotechnology in general helps to give us a sense of the value of, data management and certainly data science and the different applications we have for each of them. So when we start to kind of compare them, we look at data management in particular as being more toward the healthcare delivery side and capturing the interactions of patients within care and how we use that information then to improve or enhance care, to work with care teams within the hospital setting and outside of the hospital setting. And so we look at networking, we look at coding of patient interactions, and then how does that translate then to the data that we use to drive decisions about care and to support care. And that leads us a little bit more towards the data science side, which we can see is a great application of the use of analytics to understand how our patients interact, what communities we serve, and how we deliver the care that we deliver in so many different institutions, inpatient care, outpatient care, and understanding then how that relates to the needs of our populations that we're serving as organizations, as governmental organizations as well. And so we're using data science then as a sub-component of computer science, right? So we talk a lot about the way in which computer science is sort of an overarching term. Data science is a very specific application and encompasses a little bit more of the algorithms and the data structures and understanding those data structures and how we can use programming languages like R or Python, or even in some cases SQL, to look at the data that's there, to clean and apply. When I say clean, that just means taking large data sets and making them easier for us to use. And we can get insight that doesn't exist to the human eye by using AI. And then I think really important when we talk about biotechnology and the application of data science, we have a great opportunity to look at how we can use data science to help us identify drug targets, meaning the receptors on cells that will take specific chemical compounds or biologic compounds. We can actually use data science then to screen for certain things. So it's a great way to apply data science, analytics to the future care and the future opportunities that we have for drug discovery and development. So I hope that helps to explain a little bit of the ways in which data science and computer science are related. But again, data science is much more the application. And, from my standpoint, the fun part.
Thank you very much, Dean Spooner. Dr. DeMasi, welcome and thank you for joining us today. You lead the Department of Biosciences at MCPHS, and you've studied natural science in many different contexts. Dr. Spooner talks to us about the technology in the healthcare delivery. If we were to come back to the biological side of the conversation, a student who is interested in biology, is interested in health, but can't choose a program. For example, how would a student choose between the Bachelor of Science in Medical and Molecular Biology and the Bachelor of Science in Biotechnology? And if they did choose one, how does that work if they wanted to change within programs, if they wanted to change majors? Sort of take off the pressure, give some guidance to the students listening to us.
Sure, that's a great question. Thank you, Ida. Thank you, Ida. So first off, I'll say that students who come here and change their mind, change their major, we make the process very easy, and students are graduating in 4 years' time. If they come here and they change their major, we ensure that they're not behind and can graduate on time. So if you're not sure which major you want, you come in with one and want to change it into another, absolutely fine. In terms of the choices between majors, our BS in Medical and Molecular Biology, students in that major are typically interested in either going into some aspect of medicine and healthcare, either medical school, dental school, optometry school, or they might be interested in a career in academic research, maybe going off to get their PhD in biology or biochemistry. So the curriculum there is designed to give students a chance to experience both biology from a medical point of view as well as a molecular point of view. The BS in biotechnology, we are really designing it for students who want to go work in biotech labs, in life science companies. So we have incorporated many more required laboratory courses in that curriculum, business courses, data science courses, as Dean Spooner just mentioned. Those are the skills that employers are looking for when they're hiring students. So the curriculum is a little different for the BS in biotechnology, focused again on the laboratory sciences and making sure students will have the laboratory skills needed to be employable, as well as not just the laboratory skills, but the computer science and the data science skills, the business knowledge to understand the business side of research. So those are the two differences between the two majors, and like I mentioned earlier, students can come in and choose one or the other, and they can move in between them.
Thank you. Now, the skills that you mentioned, these very specific lab skills that biotech companies are looking for, You can't learn everything in the classroom, can you? And you lead a strong internship program in your department, and it's it's part of an institution-wide investment in the experiential piece of training our students. Your students have been interacting with biotechnology in many ways before it was a buzzword. You shared this list with us that I put here on this slide. Can you explain what we're seeing and give us some examples of how this type of opportunities, types of internships, research opportunities impact a student's career?
Sure. MCPHS is very big into experiential education in all our programs, right? So we have a number of health sciences programs, pharmacy, stenography, radiation sciences, optometry, and those students are getting experiential education in the clinic. Our BS students are getting experiential education in the labs and in the hospitals. So MCPHS is located in one of the best parts of Boston on Longwood Avenue in the Longwood Medical area. And we around us have hundreds of research labs at prestigious world-class universities, Harvard Medical School, Harvard Dental School, Dana-Farber Cancer Center, Brigham Women's Hospital, Joslin Diabetes Center. So what our students often do while they're taking classes, they're also working in research labs. And this is a list of labs, and you can see their locations on the right and their projects on the left. So we might have a student who's interested in cancer research, and they will find a lab at Dana-Farber Cancer Center working in cancer research. So students will be working in the lab 10 to 20 hours a week during the semester, earning credit for that experience. And those real-world skills are going to make those students highly employable when they leave us. The experience, the networking that they're going to do there will help the students get employment afterwards. So again, we have students interested in medicine and healthcare who can get experience working with patients at these hospitals. We also have students interested in biomedicine, biotechnology, research, and they're working in these laboratories as well. So we really encourage students to get these experiences. We help them get these experiences. And it's a super valuable part of preparing students for employment and entry into graduate programs, medical programs, etc.
Now, this experience that you mentioned leads to the right kind of jobs, well-paying jobs, interesting jobs, and we have an impressive history of successful student outcomes with alumni working in all the areas you've mentioned, including healthcare practice, technology, business administration, biotechnology. Can you tell us how these students, and these are just a few of the alumni we found on LinkedIn, can you tell us how is it that the students find these internships? And how do they navigate between all of the different choices that these programs offer them?
Great question. So we are, every semester, we give presentations to students on how to find research internships, how to network, how to find a research lab to work in, or a company to work in, networking to communicate with the researchers who run these laboratories, and reach out to them to find these research experiences. And I'll say students are very successful in getting research experiences in these laboratories. So we constantly work with students to help place them in these labs. We have a great career center that brings employers to campus to interview students, and is constantly posting internship opportunities and sending them out through our students in emails. So, it seems daunting sometimes for students in terms of like, well, how am I going to get this experience? It's actually not that difficult. So really, it just takes some well-written emails and a little bit of networking, but it pays off great dividends. And all of these students that you're seeing, they've done research as undergraduates, they've networked as undergraduates, and that helps make them employable for positions once they graduate.
Dr. Spooner, could you please tell us a little bit more about MCPHS's location in the Longwood Medical and Academic area of Boston?
Yeah.
You're very dedicated in giving the students the experiential opportunities. So how is the location kind of integral to their experience, and how does it help them with job opportunities?
Thanks, Paul. That's a great question. And I think Dr. DeMasi really just gave us a good entry into that by highlighting just the number of research labs that are in the area and the opportunities for his students to continue to do research there. When you look at this slide, you see MCPHS in the middle of the Longwood Medical Area. Longwood Medical Area is world-renowned for the research that happens in this area. But just across the river, which you can see, there's also Cambridge, which is the #1 biotech cluster in the world. And to be in the middle of such a wonderful example of biotech in the heart of Boston really gives us a leg up, if you will. In the previous slides, there were a couple of our students that graduated from different programs that we have in the School of Healthcare, Business, and Technology. Shelton Dover is working at Joslin Diabetes. That's quite literally across the street from us, and you can see it there on the map. And C. Lee is also working with Merck. With that, you get a sense of why proximity to these organizations is important. It makes us able to have students easily participate in internships, easily participate in those research experiences that Dr. DeMasi was talking about. These are the leading institutions in the world, and they're right across the street from us. And they give us that option not only to have internships and connections, but to participate in events that these organizations hold, to go to networking events, to work with organizations like MassBio. MCPHS has a fantastic arrangement with MassBio where we're working with a project called Bioversity. MassBio came to us, and we were able to work with them to develop and deliver a curriculum that helps train entry-level folks to move into jobs within life sciences. And then here on our main campus, we have all of these different programs and opportunities to support different points of entry into life sciences. So when you think about the location, I think it really does speak to the opportunity to participate in what is one of the leading areas in the entire world for life sciences, for biotech, and to participate with research, internship opportunities, and just to be right, quite frankly, in the middle of all of it. It's such a wonderful opportunity for our students, and certainly has been helpful in the placements that we found, including, as I mentioned, with Joslin, but also with NovoCure and the National Organization of Rare Disease and others where we've had students working. So what a wonderful opportunity and a great place to be.
Thank you so much, Dr. Spooner. Dr. Yusufzai, you come from a long history in the industry. Can you talk to us about the importance of the Longwood Medical Area in the world of life sciences and biotech?
I'm happy to. So in the Boston-Cambridge area, we have the largest concentration of biotech companies. They can be small startups, they can be, medium to larger size biotech, pharmaceutical companies, and the whole ecosystem that supports that. So these could be companies that provide services to these biotech and pharmaceutical companies. They can be investors, venture capital firms, private equity firms that are, helping to support this whole ecosystem. And for students who are interested in getting into this industry, this is the place to be. There is no other, corner of the world where more is happening than is happening in this area. I think, on this chart, you can see the growth of the industry. It's going to continue. As technology gets better, our ability to make new therapeutics against new diseases or more difficult diseases is just going to continue to grow. So we're not going to be in a situation where this industry is going anywhere. And in fact, the biotech industry seems to survive almost every major downturn in the economy because there's still healthcare needs, there are still diseases that need treatments. And so this industry, it's a very strong industry, it's very large in this area, and it's not just, it really is a whole ecosystem. It's not just, one type of company. It's a whole ecosystem to support this effort, and there are roles within this industry at all levels. So entry-level positions to positions that require, PhD or law degrees or business degrees. The whole spectrum of job opportunities are present in this area.
Thank you, Dr. Yusufzai. A question for Dr. Spooner. Since we're here to help students differentiate our programs and understand which one would be the right fit for them, we put on the screen the 3 programs that are around data science and health information management. Could you, Dr. Spooner, please walk us through these different competencies and how you see what kind of profile is best for each student? What the differences in curricular focus are?
Certainly, and Dr. Yusufzai just mentioned, some of the spectrum of career opportunities. And these 3 programs, again, I talked about it a little earlier, give us a little bit different touch point within technology, within the different deliveries of care, and the research angle for biotech or life sciences. So, when we look at the Bachelor of Science in Health Information Management, we're looking for students interested in working in healthcare, in particular, working with data and coding within the delivery of healthcare. We're using, coding languages like R and Python. We're looking at how to manage a database and how to bring that together in a way that supports the delivery of care. We see this person as being at the middle of the communication point that keeps the care teams moving, keeps information flowing about patients, and makes some of that decision-making easier. They work a lot with the interface between technology and the delivery of care, so the human and technology, or human-computer interface, if you will. And oftentimes, these folks are leading projects, developing or delivering electronic health records and bringing those pieces forward. Then when you shift to data science, you're looking at a little bit different application. We're looking at a student who has a strong math background, understands statistics, and is able to apply that in a way in which we're using data or large data sets to help derive and build our understanding of some of the patterns that are out there. And they're not necessarily visible to the human eye. And that's why data science is so important. It helps us to understand the environment around us, how we interact with healthcare. And so that gives us a little bit better opportunity to use data, to analyze data, to visualize it. So to bring data to a point where it's telling us a story and we can take action on that story and make critical decisions from a business standpoint. And then also when you think about research and the application then of data science to research within life sciences, we're looking to use the same thing, to look for patterns in data that help us to make important decisions about what drug targets we can use or how we can develop and deliver the best medicine, understanding toxicology, for example. So some of the really important pieces then are the application or understanding of math, the use of statistics to look at that data set, and coding languages, like we mentioned before, R, Python, and SQL. The research side, we have a focus more toward biology. So working, of course, with Dr. DeMasi and looking at genetics, understanding, from a computational standpoint, what is computational biology, or what is computational chemistry, and where does that apply in life sciences? So we run the gamut with these 3 programs, starting with the health information management, again, working with that probably electronic record in a team in the delivery of care, the health analytics, looking at healthcare interactions overall, making better decisions and using data to drive some of that. And then from a biotech research standpoint, using data science to evaluate and help to develop drugs. So that's kind of the whole span of these 3 programs. And I hope that that's helpful.
Very helpful, Dr. Spooner. Thank you so much. The next question is for Dr. Yusufzai and Dr. DeMasi around artificial intelligence. We mentioned a few use cases for artificial intelligence, such as identifying molecular targets on, for example, cancer cells, different therapies that can be identified. We also see ways of one I just read about was screening eyes for the presence of clogged arteries, which I thought was interesting, using artificial intelligence. How does artificial intelligence play into these curricula, and what should the students be aware of as far as potential careers in artificial intelligence?
So I'm happy to go first. So the points you brought up, Paul, are great. AI is helping to really reshape this industry. It's, developing new therapies, new treatments for diseases is really difficult. It takes a long time. It costs a lot of money to do so. And with kind of advances in artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science that Dr. Spooner talked about, we've been able to kind of shorten some of these timelines, save money, help identify, which patients we want to treat, which treatments are appropriate. And so it's starting to kind of intersect with every step of the process. And it can be very early on with, what are some of the new therapies we want to discover, to very later on, which is, how are patients responding? How are we choosing patients, to give the treatment to? And it's really starting to, and it's in the very early days still, but it's really starting to help shape, maybe the next 10 to 15 years of this industry.
And I think what I'll just add to that is that, for AI to be used successfully, right, the foundation is going to be understanding the biology, the physiology, the biochemistry, along with the computer science, the programming. So I think what we try to do here at MCPHS is give students this great foundation to be able to, use and successfully, help create AI where they actually understand the biology, the chemistry, the physiology, the cell biology, the genetics, so that those programming tools that AI incorporates can be used to successfully design drugs, can be used successfully to treat diseases. So, it's the foundation of putting that all together so that students can go out into the world and use their knowledge to successfully interact with AI in order to, better the lives of patients. Ida, you're muted.
You're muted.
Apologies, I'll start over. Dr. DeMasi, that makes me think of a question that students often ask as they're pondering all of these different options. Can a student who completes the Bachelor of Science in Biotech go on to medical school, for example, after graduating?
The answer is yes. I think all of our majors here at MCPHS, we're focused on not just the biology of healthcare, or disease, but also focused on the human aspect, right? So in medicine and healthcare, clinicians sometimes forget that you're not just treating disease and treating a body, you're treating people, right? And so MCPHS really focuses not just on the physiology and the science, but also the human aspect of medicine. So many of our courses, electives or requirements that students can take here focuses on the human aspect of medicine. And so we, want to make not just great scientists and great clinicians, but great humanitarians, right? People who can interact with patients, who have great communication skills, who understand the causes of disease, how to prevent disease, not just treat disease. So we have, our curriculum in public health to understand the root causes of diseases, our curriculum and courses in psychology, health psychology, to understand behaviors and the biopsychosocial aspects of disease, our health humanities, to understand the human side of medicine. All of that really combines with our biology and our chemistry and our medicine, there are physiology courses to really prepare students to be really, human focused, not just biology focused. And I think in any one of our undergraduate majors, students can go into medicine and healthcare. So, we would just add some courses here, add some courses there to prepare students to take the MCAT, to prepare students to apply to medical school. So any one of our BS undergraduate degrees at least in the School of Arts and Sciences, and also most likely in the School of Healthcare Business, and Dean Spooner can talk to that, with the addition of the right courses, can absolutely get students into medical school.
Thank you. I'm sorry to jump around, but I'm going to go from the human side of the education to the equipment side of the education, because I believe that the institution is investing quite a bit now in and continually invests in the renovation of lab equipment, and you've got quite a project going. Can you talk to us just a little bit about that and the importance of what is taking place?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are, our university president has a real excitement for biotechnology, data science, and we're moving us in the direction. We've always been a wonderful healthcare institution, preparing students for the world of healthcare. And now we're very much focused on preparing students for the world of biotechnology, data science research, life science research. And so we are spending millions of dollars to build new teaching labs, where we're going to purchase state-of-the-art equipment so that when students are here, they're learning the valuable lab skills that employers want, biotech companies want, and they're working on the state-of-the-art machinery so that when they go out into a biotech company, they'll see those same machines there as well. So we have a huge financial investment that is undergoing right now, and I'm working closely with Dean Spooner and Dr. Yusufzai on the implementation of all these laboratories in terms of preparing students for the employment world, ensuring that they're going to, like I said, get the best hands-on skills that employers need. And we're constantly looking at job postings by biotech companies. And when jobs say they want, cell culture skills, we're going to have to make sure students have those cell culture skills. If they want flow cytometry experience, we're going to give students flow cytometry experience. So we are constantly looking to prepare students on state-of-the-art equipment with current lab skills, and we're really excited to build these new research labs and train these students in these labs.
And if I can just add to that, I think this is an area that sets MCPHS apart from some of the other universities nearby. So most biotech and pharmaceutical companies have state-of-the-art equipment. They update it. It's the latest technologies because that's what they need. And most universities do not keep pace with that. And what, Dr. DeMasi mentioned about the university investing in state-of-the-art equipment, state-of-the-art technologies will really help prepare students who want to get into the life sciences industry be better prepared than other universities who will have different equipment, different resources, different technologies. And I think that gives us kind of a competitive advantage compared to other schools.
And give the students the competitive advantage when they're looking for jobs. I could add that. But let me turn to Paul. Paul, you work with international students on a daily basis, and a lot of the students who come to MCPHS do come from other countries. And one question they often ask is about STEM programs. Could you tell us what STEM OPT eligibility is, and why is it important for someone who is not a US citizen?
Yeah, this is very important. A lot of students overlook this because they plan on doing a bachelor's degree, then going to medical school, or they want to do a bachelor's degree, then begin working immediately as a, in a situation where the employer is granting the H-1B visa. The STEM eligible bachelor's programs allow students to remain in the United States after the completion of their bachelor's degree for up to 3 years. So they can, as part of earning an F1 visa, they can stay in the US after their degree for up to 3 years, work, gain experience, and then from there, they can go on to graduate school. They can seek an H-1B opportunity. It's kind of a bridge to future programs. So this is really important because I speak with, as an admissions counselor, I speak with a lot of students who want to study medicine. The problem with studying medicine in the United States is it's very competitive. So what students often do is they'll take time in between their bachelor's degree and medical school to get experience. They'll get a year or two, maybe 3 years of experience, and that really helps their application. And they do this under because their program is STEM eligible. And luckily, if we go to the next slide, all of these new programs that we offer and many previous programs are all STEM eligible.
Before we do go to the next slide, just a quick question for, well, for you, Paul, and then for Dr. Yusufzai. Paul, when students are in these 3 years you're talking about where they stay to gain experience, are they also being paid? Is there a salary that goes with that? And Dr. Yusufzai, what kind of salaries do students make in these fields?
I'll defer to you, Ita and Timur, on that. That's kind of beyond what I usually advise students on.
But Paul, you confirmed that students are getting paid during these 3 years.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I think the salary question is a good one, and it really depends on whether or not the student is in a biotech or a pharmaceutical company, if that's what they get into. The biotechs tend to pay quite a bit better than the pharmaceutical companies. For entry-level positions, the salary, there's a big range, and it depends on what the company's focused on, what the skill set the person has, and it can range. Yeah, it's a big range. The salaries are quite high. It probably goes from $80,000 to $150,000 a year, depending on the needs and the skills. It's very high.
We've put up some of these job titles, and we've mentioned a few of them throughout the discussion. Any comments from the three of you on any job titles here that we might have missed, or maybe Dr. Yusufzai, any experience you have with these different titles in your many hats that you've worn?
Yeah, I think there's there's another title that could go on here called research associate, and that's kind of a title for people who are just getting into a company doing experiments. It could be chemistry, it could be biology, biochemistry, those kind of flavors, research associate. The one thing I will mention is that in this industry, it's a very fast-moving one, and people get experience very quickly, hands-on experience very quickly, and that allows them to then get better paying roles, get different roles at other companies. So for the first entry into the industry, it's a good playing role. There's a lot to learn, but then it opens up even more opportunities to go to other companies, to specialize, to go back to grad school if that's what's wanted, and just really go from there.
Dr. Yusufzai, can you talk to us about some of these positions that are on the slide here? This is from the 2022 Massachusetts Life Sciences Workforce Analysis Report. The main finding of that report is that companies in Massachusetts, specifically biotech companies, are looking for talent. They really need people to fill these types of roles. Maybe give us an idea of what some of these jobs are and how they align to some of the programs we offer.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Paul. So these jobs are kind of the core, jobs at most companies in this industry. So you have your biologists that, can mix with the biochemists, then you have your chemists, and then you have operations and people on the medical. So it's really the core group. And you can see by the number of jobs how large this industry is in this area. And I think for people, depending on what angle they want to get into, most of these roles, you can get into them either through the biotechnology program that we offer or through one of the data science programs that Dr. Spooner has talked about. And that really can be an entry point into all of these roles. If somebody wanted to specialize in project management or business operations after passing through our biotechnology program, then they can take another course, they can, get another degree to really specialize. But the biotechnology program and the data science programs can open up all of these core functions for the students.
I wonder if I could add something quickly. You make some wonderful points, and I also wanted to mention that we talked earlier about proximity. When we designed and developed these programs, we were working with these companies in this area and in and around Boston, in and around the Longwood medical area to design these programs. We listened to them. They told us what jobs they wanted to fill. We understand what they need, what skills they're looking for from our students, and we put together the experiential opportunities that come through the programs for each of these. So it's a great opportunity for us to leverage location, but also the knowledge that exists in that same location to build the programs and deliver on it. So I think it's a great point to make.
I think I'll add one more thing, Dean Spooner. A lot of our students come here as undergraduates, and then they really get excited about some aspects of, medicine or healthcare or research, and they stay at MCPHS to do a master's degree. A master's in, we have an MBA, a great MBA program, students who, like the science, but want to go into the business side of science. Or we have a great master's in clinical research, students who stay here, again, they might be interested in the science, the medicine, the data, but now they want to help manage clinical trials or bring drugs to market. Or students who stay here and do a master's in medicinal chemistry or pharmaceutics because they want to design drugs. So we offer actually a lot of master's programs, which I know we're not talking about a lot today, but students come here, with one idea, get excited about something else, and they can actually stay here and pursue those things as well, which is actually a really exciting opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. There's, I think we've given a lot of information and what, sort of shaped what we were trying to do for these students is to list out some questions about what characteristics are really important when they're looking for programs in these fields. We've got questions coming in such as what master do I do after a bachelor's degree, or what do I do if I'm interested in genetic engineering? What is my application? How can I make my application the best application? These are all important questions, and these are questions that they should be asking to all programs they're considering. But what we want to suggest to you students listening is think about other topics that were discussed today in this webinar, some of which are addressed here in this list of questions we're presenting to you, and we submit these to you to ask them to every program or of every program that you are considering, because maybe you hadn't thought about the impact that these characteristics will have on your career trajectory. In closing, I'd like to open the floor to our three panelists. Is there any question that we missed? Is there anything here that we should make sure to tell these students that they should be considering to make sure that not only the program is the right fit, but the program will set them up for success in their careers in the health tech and biotech areas?
If I can go first, I think, if I put myself, in the shoes of a student who's interested in getting into the industry, I think it's really right now about trying to find the entry point for the industry, and not so much, I really want to be a biologist versus a biochemist, or one of those subtle differences. It's really, how do I get into, what are my entry points into this industry? And the programs we talked about, I think, are excellent entry points, and the students don't need to decide exactly what they're going to do, what they want to do, but just getting into one of these programs will just be the best way to get into the industry.
I agree, Timur. And I wanted to add too, in terms of getting started in the industry and getting experience, we've built in experiential components to all three of the course programs we talked about. In particular, the last year, we provide an experiential opportunity for students to work in and around this fantastic area of Longwood Medical and Cambridge, and with these organizations with which we will place students. So it's a great opportunity to get started and also decide, is this an area that you're interested in, or maybe something different? And I think that the opportunities that are around us abound, and we have such wonderful connections and networks with all these different organizations that we can help students find what works for them. I think most of us can say here that none of us thought we'd be where we are today, but we've taken our own path, and there's been experiences and opportunities that we've found and have found us. And I think that sometimes the undergraduate degree opens those doors, and what experiences are going to be valuable to you as a student. And that's our goal, is to help provide those.
I think what I'll add, having taught at MCPHS for 16 years, the way we measure success at our institution is student success. Other universities might measure success as how much research funding they bring in, or how many publications that their professors publish. At our institution, we measure success by student success. Are students out there getting jobs? Are they happy with their undergraduate education? Are they successful in the real world? So we are laser focused on making sure students are successful, because, like I said, that's our #1 metric for success at MCPHS. So I think coming to this university, I love teaching and working here, because our institution is focused on student success. And one of the best things about my work here is I get to teach students, mentor students, advise students, and see them graduate and be successful in their careers. So I'll just add that. Thanks.
Those are beautiful words of closing. Thank you very much. You're right. That's what reminds us why we're here, is when we see these students come back to us with these success stories. So thank you very much, Dr. DeMasi. Thank you, Dr. Yusufzai and Dean Spooner. It was not only fascinating and very much a learning experience to listen to you, but also just great chatting with you all. We don't often have the time to catch up, and I want to thank you and thank all of you for listening. Every student who is on the call listening to this webinar, we hope we've answered some of your questions, maybe not all, but you will be getting the recording sent to you. Look for it in the next couple days. And as Paul said in the beginning, you'll also be getting a survey. Please do take some time to tell us what you thought about this webinar. We wish you a lot of luck and with your reflection and with your choices. we are resources here if you have any more specific questions. And we are happy to send questions back to the panelists if there's anything that Paul and I cannot answer. I know that the panelists, I don't want to put you on the spot, but just because I know the three of you, I know that you are always very happy to interact with prospective students. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening, good afternoon, or a great day.